Hey folks, and welcome back to Irish Ham Radio, or welcome to Irish Ham Radio if it is your first time here. My name is Dave, amateur radio call sign EI5IMB, and today in this video I'm going to be doing a SOTA or Summits on the Air activation of Silver Hill in County Donegal, which is Echo India, India November 011. So as well as just going up to do this activation or attempt this activation today, guys, I'm also taking my overnight backpack gear, tent and camping gear and cooking gear as well, to see if I can actually take everything for an overnight and my radio gear in the bag and see how practical or how realistic it is, and see if I can even carry it. So here's my pack today, guys. I've got everything for an overnight pretty much in that pack. There's my tent on the outside. Got a couple of litres of water here. There's the antenna pole there that I normally use as well, and my normal water bottle here, as well as all sorts of camping stuff. And my radio gear is in there, my HF and my 2-meter kit as well. And the pack is coming in at pretty much exactly 15 kg. This bag is a low alpine Camino Trek 4050, and I think after packing this last night and this morning, I reckon this bag is actually a bit too small for this type of a thing. If I didn't have the radio gear, probably would be just right for a one night, maybe 2 night in the hill, probably just a one night, if you want to have a bit of comfort, like especially with this slightly larger tent that I'm using. So I was driving up and down here a bit. I went up this road first through this gate, came to kind of a dead end locked gate onto this wind farm. As you can see, the turbines on up there, and then I went down this one thinking that might get me a bit of height, but really there's no way to avoid it. You sort of have to park at this junction, I think. I've never been up here before, so I think you have to park at this junction. I'll go over through this gate and over the next one, on up the wind farm road and up onto the hill. If you could go up into the wind farm, it'd save you probably 2 kilometers each way, which would be great, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case today. So note to self and to all of you, if any of you are thinking of climbing this hill, continue on the road, and you will actually come up to this point, so you don't have to leave the road without crossing the river like I did. There seems to be some form of a reservoir built here, although it's very low at the minute. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe it was for a public water supply, but it's very low at the minute. You can see there's sort of a causeway and a dam built here. I'm standing on it at the minute, and there's an outflow then and a hut down below. So I actually got chatting to a man down at that what looked to me like a reservoir, which it was, a fella called Raymond, and he told me that it's actually a hydroelectric scheme, a small hydroelectric scheme, and that's the first big dam for it. And then there is, I did notice a smaller dam further down the hill, funny enough, so that's what that is. Yeah, cool, didn't know that existed at all. So I'm in the usual Irish hiking situation of having to go left and right and up and down and round to make sure I don't stand in a bog hole, and yeah, just to go in a straight line in this. It's just, this is what it is. Now if you haven't hiked in Ireland, that doesn't look too bad. It's not too bad. It's just a bit uppy downy. It's not as simple as that. Everywhere you go, you're trying not to stand in something that'll go up to your waist or up to your knee and to soak your feet. And unfortunately, that has already happened to me. Just after I left the dam, I was standing on the edge of a turf hag, which is just like a little turf kind of ledge, and my right foot just slipped off the edge of it. It kind of broke away, and I went straight down up to my knee into a big bog puddle, and I have no gaiters on, so my right leg, my right foot is now sopping wet. Such is life. We'll keep going and see if we can get up this hill. So as I said at the bottom, guys, I do have the intention of activating this summit for SOTA, but I also have taken up my overnight gear. So the first thing I did when I got up here was set up the tent just to see how that went. It took me 15 minutes from start to finish. I would say that normally I wouldn't set up in such a windy spot. I'd go down the hill into the shelter, but on this occasion I'm trying to set up where I can activate from, so I'm sort of in the shelter of the wind direction, but as you can hear, it's still fairly windy here. So let's have a look from outside. Now this is the tent set up here now. Not a great tent now, to be honest with you. Not a very high quality tent or anything like that. It's a fairly low cost, lightweight backpacking tent. A two-man tent because I like to have a bit of space to sit up. I think the main thing with this tent is not to set it up in the wind as I have. I'd say if this was out of the wind, it'd be perfectly fine. But just not a great tent for in the wind now, as you can see. It's only one layer for a start, but yeah. The summit is just up there, as you can see. So next on the agenda is get the HF antenna up and I get my station set up, and then I'm going to activate 2 meters and then on to HF. So I'm up here at the summit. I'm going to do 2 meters first. I'm going to stay here out of the wind because up over there the wind is just barreling over. I'll see if we can make a few contacts. Here we go. CQ SOTA, CQ SOTA, CQ Summit's on the air. Echo India 5, India Mike Bravo Portable, EI5 IMB Portable, CQ SOTA.
Echo India 4, Hotel November Bravo Portable. Yeah, Echo India 6, Golf Yankee Bravo Portable. You're 5-4 here, David, in North Mayo, 6 miles south of Ballina. Name here is Damien. Echo India 6, Golf Yankee Bravo Portable. I'm using a beam and 5 watts. You're making it there ready, at about 70 miles, I'd say, or 68 miles, I'd say. Yourself? EI5 IMB, Portable, EI3IX.
Hiya Joe, how's things? Hey, thanks very much for coming on there. You're 5 and 5, Joe, over.
Thanks for 5 I'm giving you 3 by 1, 3 by 1, 3 by 1.
Okay guys, that's enough of 2 meters. I have 3 contacts there, so let's go down and get HF done. So another special thing about today's hiking activation is that for the first time I'm going to use my new Xiegu X6100 on a SOTA activation bareback, just with the internal battery 5 watts. So here we go. I have it in this bird bag that I got with my antenna analyzer. I don't use it because my antenna analyzer is actually in a pelly case, and I just stuck it in there. It fits nicely actually. And in the back then I have the microphone and the microphone cable and all of that. So I have my antenna in from outside, set it up earlier, the link dipole SOTA beams. So let's get this rig up and see if we can make some contacts. Mike 0 station, go ahead.
Mike 0, Romeo, Whiskey X-ray, you're 5 and 7, 57, over.
QRZ again, please. Very difficult to hear. The Oscar Echo station, go ahead. Okay, just the Oscar. Was there an Oscar Echo station? Go ahead. Okay. I gotta be honest, guys, and I've heard it, like, but the speaker on this thing is no good. Absolutely useless. Now I'm in a very noisy tent here, with this roof flapping in the wind. But I still should be able to hear this, you know. It's absolutely terrible. I'm going to move to 40 just to do 40, see if we can get a few more, but I'll not be hanging about. Yeah, Golf 0, Foxtrot Echo X-ray. You're 5 and 7, over. Golf 0, Foxtrot Echo X-ray, 5 and 7. Golf 0, Foxtrot Echo X-ray, you're 5-7, over.
Very good afternoon, many thanks for the 5.7. 5757 also. Name here is 10 Kilo Echo November, just outside the
QSL, Ken, QSL, thanks very much. I'm doing a bit of a different setup here today, 5 watts. So it's a little bit lower power than I normally use, but you're 5-7, over. Yeah, station there with Sierra Alpha Whiskey, sorry, very low. Go ahead again, over. Alright guys, so I'm going to leave it at that. It's too hard to hear anything in the tent here. It's too hard to hear outside because it's too windy. And the speaker on this radio is just not loud enough to either break the wind or to break the flapping in the tent. So I have about 6 or 7 contacts there all together. So I've activated the Summit. I'm a little bit disappointed in the speaker of the radio. And to be honest, yeah, I'm not going messing about with it here. Very loud flapping, sorry. But I'm going to put everything away now and get something to eat. So for lunch today, I'm going to have one of these Termit Real dehydrated meals. This one is pasta in tomato sauce, vegan friendly. So it's the first time I've tried one of these. I want to see how it goes. I'm using the Alp Kit Brew Kit stove. Wonderful little stove. Everything here fits inside this pot. Okay, then it says to seal it up again, give it a good stir, put in hopefully the right amount of water, seal it up for 8 minutes. And somebody said to me in the shop, I actually bought this in Call of the Wild, the Sligo, and they said, you know, fill it a little bit more than what it says and leave it for a little bit longer than it says. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll give it 10 minutes. So hopefully I'll have a nice lunch. Pretty nice, very nice. You can just tell by the density of it, you're getting serious energy from this. It's actually really nice. I'll go for it again. Alright, so I am back on the wind farm track here at the minute. So I have about a 15-20 minute walk back down to the Jeep, and I'm going to wrap up the video now. So first of all, just from a navigation point of view, if you're thinking of coming up and climbing Silver Hill in County Donegal here, as I said earlier, don't veer off the wind farm or the reservoir track or the hydro track, whatever you want to call this track I'm on here. Go right to the top of that. You'll come to a dam where there's a reservoir and you cross the fence. And then from there, there's actually 3 wooden markers that you follow. I'll actually put the coordinates of all 3 in the description here. And you follow them, and once you get to the 3rd one, you take a right turn, a square right, heading towards the summit, all uphill. So yeah, so that's from the navigation point of view. So it's actually fairly straightforward using them markers. The most boggy part, where you have to do the most dodging, is probably between the first and the second wooden markers. There's a lot of soggy ground there. You have to just weave around. You just can't go straight line. So, and between the second and the third marker, the same, but a little bit less so. And then once you pass the third marker, it's actually great. There's even bits of rock to get some hard footing. Next, I suppose, from the camping gear perspective, I'm happy enough with the weight of the stuff that I carried today. Had my tent, had my cooking gear, had a dehydrated meal, actually enjoyed it. I think I have enough water. The tent, this particular tent is an inexpensive backpacking tent, fairly lightweight, good bit of space inside it, and it would be fine, only for it cannot take the wind. So this tent definitely shouldn't be put up in the wind. But it was nice to be able to operate in a bit of shelter today. And finally, from a radio perspective, well, I have to say, probably a little bit disappointed. Yeah, what can I say? Look, I started the activation on 2 meters, 2 contacts on 2 meters. That's not unusual. I'm up in mid, not quite North Donegal, but sort of mid-South Donegal, whatever you want to call it. And you know, it's common enough to not get too much going on 2 meters. But on the HF side of it, I suppose two things. I'm not sure what happened on 20 meters. Now, bearing in mind, I'm somebody who's used to running 50 watts, and everybody coming back to me 5.9, 5.9. And I mean, he only had a couple of contacts on 20 meters, and maybe the band's just not there. I don't know. I think my antenna was okay. SWR looked okay on the radio. I was fairly surprised there. I got Manuel, EA2 DT in Spain as usual, and a few others. But yeah, just a bit disappointed. And now the tent was noisy with the flapping wind, but the speaker in this radio, in the Xiegu X6100, just isn't loud enough for portable operation on the hills with wind. Definitely not. So you need a headset or need an external speaker or something, but that's another thing you have to carry. So people had told me that, but I didn't realize how much of a problem it was. So then I went on to 40 meters. And thinking, oh, I get the UK crew in there. Now, I think somebody might have been on top of me on the 40 meter frequency. I called, was it available? And nobody responded. I could see nothing on the waterfall and I could hear nothing. And again, as far as I'm aware, my antenna was okay. But I had a few guys text me afterwards. I made, I think, 1 or 2 contacts on it. And one of the guys texted me after saying that there was somebody on top of me. So, yeah. But I couldn't hear that, and I could hear a bit of the usual warbly noise in the background, but I don't know, is it I couldn't hear it because of the poor speaker and the noise of the tent, or could I literally just not receive them from an RF point of view? So yeah, I have a few questions and things I'm going to have to look into on the Xiegu X6100. But anyway, on the plus side, I did get the activation, albeit not that many contacts. I had a lovely lunch, I enjoyed the hike, and I had a great time setting up my tent and taking it down again. So here's the log anyway, just for your information. Not that it's that big. And hopefully we'll catch you on the next one. For me, Dave, 73s.